Check test.
Let's do Ruiseñor right now. Ruiseñor. And then Bailando. Bailando is the one that goes... Oh, we said with the turbo.
Yeah, Ruiseñor bailando.
You want to kill it?
Are we being introduced or not?
All right.
Give us a ring.
I say let's
Okay,
just play. They're not confident.
here we go.
Ready?
Yeah.
Anoche un ruiseñor se asomó por mi ventana. Anoche un ruiseñor se asomó por mi ventana. Con su melodiosa voz tiernamente preguntaba. Con su melodiosa voz tiernamente preguntaba. Que si podía acompañarme cantando hasta la mañana. El ruiseñor me comentó, hoy te veo muy solita. El ruiseñor me comentó, hoy te veo muy solita. Una dama como usted debe estar acompañadita. Una dama como usted debe estar acompañadita. Canta con tu corazón y así hacemos armonía. Puro Fleur de Toloache. Escucha bien mi consejo, me dijo el ruiseñor. Escucha bien mi consejo, me dijo el ruiseñor. Que nunca calles tu voz, siempre canta con fervor. Que nunca calles tu voz, siempre canta con fervor. Deja resonar tu canto. Tu canto de amor. Eso, sí, señor.
Thank you very much.
Buenos días, good morning everyone, come on in. We ready? Va. a este iluso corazón que por ti todo daría. Abriste mi puerta tomando mi cadera y pegadito me llevaste al oscurito, me pusiste a rumbear. Tú tan bueno parecías, hoy me entero que a otra le decías quiero bailarte under the moonlight. Me hiciste perder, contigo me enredé, tonta yo quedé. Y te juro por Lupita que esta no te voy a perdonar. Canta el corazón por su dolor, bailando penas. Sola estoy mejor con mi cumbión, bailando penas. Somos Toloache. Aún te pienso noche y día. Vengo muero por besarte, aunque no debería. Me lastimaste, fuiste cobarde. Yo prefiero bailar sola a resbalar contigo otra vez. Y te juro por Lupita que esta no te voy a perdonar. Que te cuides, sacuditas, porque de esta no te vas a salvar. Canta el corazón con su dolor, bailando penas. Sola estoy mejor con mi cumbión, bailando penas. Canta el corazón con su dolor, bailando penas. Sola estoy mejor con mi cumbión, bailando penas. Somos Toloache. Cumbia. Esa.
Eso. Linda. Linda. Brinda, brinda, brinda.
Échale, viejona.
¡Somero Río!
She's running for the train, creía no llegar. Respira profundo, ve las puertas cerrar. Plays her favorite song y empieza a bailar. Sin importarle quién la vaya a mirar. Se pierde entre el mar de gente, pero ella sigue su propia corriente. Estar solita no es her only destination. She wore her favorite dress just for this whole occasion. Vino a celebrarse, mesa para uno, brinda por ella, brinda sin pena y así decir. If you don't love yourself, you can love no one else. She is the one that she came for, the one she's been waiting for. She is the one that she came for, the one she's been waiting for. Estar solita no es her only destination. She wore her favorite dress just for this whole occasion. Vino a celebrarse, mesa para uno, brinda por ella, brinda sin pena y así decir. If you don't love yourself, you can love no one else. She is the one that she came for, the one she's been waiting for. She is the one that she came for, the one she's been waiting for. She is the one that she came for, the one she's been waiting for. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Hey, folks. Oh, my God. Hi. Hi. Welcome. Welcome. That was, I'm going to tear this up, Fleur de Toloache. Welcome to the 21st edition of the Under the Radar Festival. I'm Mark Russell, the founder and one of the artistic directors of this festival. You will hear from my collaborators very shortly. For me, even though I've been suffering from post-traumatic founder syndrome, it's been inspiring to see Under the Radar catch its wings. And thanks to all of these people, especially, I have to point out my partner, Tommy Kriegsman. Thank you so much. Okay, this is the third year of Under the Radar's expansion across the city of New York. We have been fortunate to have many supportive venue partners. They share the risks of producing this work and help us decide what makes a show under the radar. We could not do it without them. Today's symposium focuses on artists, the work they create, the challenges they face, their ambitions and their dreams. You will meet them later today. Most of us in this room would not exist without artists. They are the reason we keep our doors open, our plumbing working, our donors happy, our audience is growing. Look around. This is a room of people who believe in artists and are committed to the survival of art in society. That is not easy at this moment in the world. This is brave and generous work. Thank all of you. I also want to thank you personally for coming out to Under the Radar. It's expensive, I know. Especially our international guests. You could have shunned us and the U.S. given the events of 2025, given the events of Minneapolis last night. But you came. Thank you. It means a lot. Each year, we dedicate this festival to someone. We have lost so many friends this year, but I'm going to switch it up. And I'm dedicating this festival to someone who is very much alive and has been here since the beginning, my partner in crime, Olga Garay English. Thank you, Olga. One last thing. Now, I know that this is dry January, but please skip that for one night at least and join us at our 21st birthday party on Saturday night, the 10th of Saturday, at Manhattan Bulgarian Bar from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Let's celebrate the fact that we are alive. The arts are alive. The resistance is alive. It's only through joy and community that we can overcome those who would stand in our way and keep us down. Thank you very much. Please welcome my partners.
Greetings. You made it. Despite all of what the last year has thrown at us, I'm delighted we're gathering to celebrate the weird, adventurous, shocking, and joyous work that makes up Under the Radar. This year's Under the Radar is a plurality of voices. It contains divergent tastes and perspectives, and probably even some contradictions. I consider this messiness a win. I like to say that my aesthetic can be summed up as maximalist chaos. But beyond that, it is essential in this political moment, a moment in which there's a cynical narrowing of what is possible, legible, or acceptable in the cultural landscape to push back. The 31 extraordinary shows that collectively cannot be categorized, sorted, or pitted against one another do just that. We stand together in our glorious differences. Speaking of different, I know that Mark already mentioned this, but the range of venues who are serving as homes for the artistic work and who have served as curatorial and thought partners to this year's program are the cornerstone of this festival. Once again, 24 other organizations said yes to Under the Radar and to giving Under the Radar a home, and that is why the festival exists. Yes. It has been such a joy to be among the group of people, both up here on stage, out there in the audience and beyond, who were a part of shaping this year's festival, and I look forward to seeing the ways the vision of this incredible network of artists and curators will continue to evolve. Enjoy the shows, and I'll see you in the lobby.
Merope summed it all up. I have one thing to say, which is that all of us in this room are in the business of moving ideas between people. And let us not confuse the tremendous need for the skills that we all have right now, and that our skills are, in fact, critical in dire times. And so I take my 60 seconds with you all to seed the prayer that I think has been guiding us, that we all use these skills, these critical skills of how to think about tending the ecologies that support ideas moving between people, that we keep striving, that we use these skills for the many and not just the few. That is the prayer that I seed with my 60 seconds with you all, and we're so happy you're all here. Thank you for being here. Also, Sammy brilliantly told me to thank Fleur de Toloache one more time. Genealogies of a performance practice held between brilliant women. Thank you, Fleur de Toloache.
Hi, I'm Sammy Pine. I'm Tommy Kriegsman.
Together we're the producers of Under the Radar, and thank you for being here. At the risk of just continuing the thanks, I just want to shout out the many, many hands that make this festival possible, but also the many, many hands that have made the work possible that you will see throughout this festival that did not start just here and now. We are part of a long process. We all are. In what we do, it is a collective act of making. And for those of you who are joining us for the industry sessions later today, you'll also hear about some incredible new work development. So I just want to recognize the amount of people who come together in this collective action to make new work possible in this moment. It is brave, it is needed. It gets me out of bed in the morning when, God forbid, I can't get out of bed in the morning with what's going on and how much we are pushing ourselves to make this festival possible. So thank you to everyone who has played a role in making us be able to be here today.
And thank you all. Every year we invite you to come and convene around these sessions, and we hope that this day and the deep questions that we are probing and coming together on from so many diverse perspectives is a gift to us, and we hope as much a gift to you in terms of how we start these incredible weeks off every year that energize all of this work and the movement of this art around the world. So we're extremely grateful for you, extremely grateful for our partners. Sammy and I are extremely grateful to Kneza, Merope, and Mark. They have inspired us and probed very deeply in terms of the questions of what we're doing with this festival and why, and it has added to so much and to so much extraordinary energy this year. And we're very, very grateful for you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Speaking of which, we're on the stage of Mommy, which you'll see behind us. We've got some carpet. Some of you joined us yesterday evening and saw that performance. If not, I'll hope you'll join us later in the festival to see this incredible work. But we are here in Skirball, so I wanted to welcome Jay Wegman to the stage to say a few words.
I am just here to say, I guess, to bless the proceedings, and on behalf of everybody who works at NYU Skirball, to welcome you here. There are so many people from around the world or just basically across the street, and it's truly wonderful to see all of you here. I'm thrilled that Skirball's the place that kind of is the entry point, the gateway drug for Under the Radar. So happy birthday, Mark Russell. This is a party. Share the love. And just speaking of love, there are some very nice people out in the lobby from Joe's Coffee who got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And they're out there, so if you've had coffee, it's because of their generosity. So on the way out, just say hi. You don't have to tip them, you don't have to do anything. Just give them a little, like hi and thanks. So with that, I'm done. Have a great time.
Merope and I have the pleasure of introducing to all of you Carla Hoke-Miller, who is the Executive Director of Theater and Live Performance Partnerships at the New York City Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. Your title is a mouthful, and it's so critical to the city. If Merope and I were to seed another prayer for the future of this mighty festival, it would be to continue in the image of a city-wide festival, and partnership with the city is such a critical part of that. So thank you for being here and addressing the crowd.
Hello, everyone. I can't see anything out there. Okay, good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I just want to note that the MOME commissioner, MOME is the Mayor's Office of Media's acronym, is here with us today, as well as our communications director. So they're just right over here. So just want to note that they're here to support you as well. And so despite the weather in January, or maybe because of it, I look forward to this month, of intense and provocative live arts programming, and to this symposium especially, where we come together to hear from brilliant leaders in the industry, take a deep dive with peers into the, can I say, overwhelming issues we face and experience brave new work together that ignites and the critical and creative thinking that can lead us to take action. MOM, its overall mission is to solidify support for media and entertainment industries throughout the city by opening pathways and creating alliances and making them more accessible and equitable to all New Yorkers. We all know that when New York City thrives, it's only because the creative industries thrive. And as we move into a new and inspired administration headed by Mayor Zoran Mandani, the issues affecting all who live and work here will remain at the forefront of our efforts. And we'll continue to explore and champion new ways to uplift artists and artist-led organizations and further efforts to create pipelines to equitable careers and collaborate on efforts that drive home the need for foundational and equitable support for those contributing to the work on every level that culminates in theater and live performance. And as we continue to align with the stand-up audiences, small businesses, and foundations of support that keep the arts and culture vibrantly pumping at the very core of this great city. And I appreciate having this brief opportunity to talk about the efforts our office is making to support theater and live performance during what we know is a critical moment for this and so many sectors. Right now, we're celebrating Jan Arts NYC. It's a collaborative collective of which APAP and Under the Radar are a vital part. And for 13 years, it remains among the most comprehensive platform for celebrating, let me find my place here, and experiencing the newest work in theater, dance, opera, music, and performance, all happening here in January under one name. We hope to expand this. In addition to Under the Radar programming, APAP NYC, ISPA Congress, Jan Arts NYC continues throughout the month with events produced by partners like Winter Jazz Fest, Global Fest, Prototype Festival, Outfront Festival, Works in Progress, Live Artery, and many more. And you can see the full schedule at janartsnyc.org. And as many of you are too well aware, the challenges facing the industry are real. Audience habits have changed, production materials costs have climbed, the future of federal policies and funding from healthcare to cultural experiences is unknown. But our office remains committed to working performatively and collaboratively with the new administration and theater and live performance industries in New York City, including our close colleagues and advisors on MOM's New York City Theater and Live Performance Industry Council, and to help chart new courses for a more vibrant, sustainable, and equitable future. So big congratulations to Under the Radar, and thanks to Mark for independently powering on, joined by Kendall and the Archetype production team, Tommy and Sammy, and Under the Radar co-creative directors, Mayopi and Caneza. Amazing people. I mean, amazing people that bring this together. It just seems impossible to anyone on the outside of it. And to all the Under the Radar team for applying new strategies and models to meet these challenges head on. And we applaud all those speaking their minds, thinking big, doing and supporting the work, and attending today. Thank you.
Up next, I am delighted to introduce our first keynote speaker, Misha Chowdhury. Yes, give it up. Misha is an incredible writer and director who I had the pleasure of working with on the world premiere of Public Obscenities in 2023. He's also a UTR alum with his show Mukagni in collaboration with Cameron Neal. And in the coming months, you'll be able to see his production of Rheology, both here in New York at Playwrights Horizons and in Los Angeles at Red Cat. Misha, it's a joy to have you with us. Welcome.
Morning. Hi, everyone. Oh, it really is dark out there. Hi. It really is a huge pleasure to be with you all this morning, bright and early. I am not a morning person, but when Under the Radar calls, I answer the call. A huge, huge thanks to all of these beautiful people over here for bringing us all together today and for having me. You know, there was a time when I used to get really excited about opportunities like these, opportunities to say something, because I felt like I had something to say, some solid, significant thing. And there was a kind of giddiness I used to get from saying things, like if I raised my hand in class and said something smart, or at a family gathering, if I managed to throw my voice into the chaos of the debate. I remember the feeling of listening to a conversation, but what I was listening for was an opportunity to speak. Like I was sitting there preparing my take in my head and then waiting for a gap in the flow that I could slip through. And oftentimes I didn't even know exactly what I was going to say before I was saying it, but then somehow in the saying of it, the speaking itself sort of congealed into an idea, into a kind of conviction, and suddenly I was saying something forcefully, and I believed what I was saying, and there was a kind of pleasure in that, and if people nodded or they laughed, this kind of buzzy adrenaline would course through me like I'd scored a point or something. And it was addictive. I used to really value my ability to inspire through speaking. And clearly there's a part of me that still values that because here I am speaking to you. But I do feel less sure of myself now. I feel less certain of what I want to say. And I think we get very good at telling coherent stories about ourselves to make it in this field. We get very good at self-narrating, like, what does this moment want from me? What should I be making in this political climate? What do I have to say? And being able to wield words in response to questions like those was always valuable currency I had in an economy that delights in and trades in the good stories we tell about ourselves. But a teacher of mine always used to say, that's the good story. What's the real story? So I thought what I would attempt to do is tell you a real story about me trying to make something. So here we go. So before the pandemic, I was applying to everything I could possibly apply for. And in 2019, I applied to HARP, to Hear Arts Center's residency program, pitching a collaboration between me and my mom. And my mom is a physicist who studies the physics of sand. Both of my parents are physicists. They're academics, which is probably a big part of why I became so fluent in writing grant proposals and applications. Anyway, so here are 2 sentences from my application to HARP. Rheology, which is what I was calling the project, is an attempt at interdisciplinary, intergenerational translation. In it, I am reaching toward the continuity between human and geological time, the quick, drastic brushstrokes of life bleeding into the slow canvas of erosion and sedimentation, unquote. Now, what I was really reaching toward was not nearly as grand as the continuity between human and geological time. What I was reaching toward was that residency, because the residency promised a production, and I had never had a show that ran for more than just a few nights, that wasn't just full of my friends and family, that got reviewed by critics. I had applied to this residency a few times before, and I had a hunch that this idea, this intergenerational, interdisciplinary thing with my mom, my physicist mom, might finally be the ticket. And I was right. We got the residency. I interviewed for it on March 9th, 2020. 3 days later, theaters shut down, and my partner Cameron and I escaped to my parents' place in Massachusetts, and we ended up living with them for 5 months. The treadmill of life came grinding to a stop, so my mom and I had endless time to work on this project, and we worked on it exactly 0 times. Because it turns out that given unlimited time with each other, my mom and I didn't really want to do a whole lot of interdisciplinary, intergenerational translation. We wanted to drink Mexican martinis and sit on the couch, and it was kind of an amazing time. I loved not doing any work, not making any progress, because nobody else was making any progress. And I realized everything I'd considered to be ambition in myself was actually just competition. And if the race was paused, if everybody else was on pause, I didn't feel like I had to do anything. I spent a lot of time sitting on my parents' heated toilet seat and looking at graphs on Worldometer. And then this wild thing happened that fall when Soho Rep offered 8 artists, including somehow me, a salary for that whole season when theaters were still shut down to work on a project of our choosing. So I started writing a play, and that play ultimately got produced by Soho Rep and Natco, and all my dreams came true, truly. But that's not the point of this story. The point is that whole time, this thing with my mom wasn't going anywhere. And if I'm honest, I kind of resented it. It felt like this idea I'd pitched to get a production. And every time I sat down and tried to write it, I wasn't really interested in what I'd proposed, and I kept trying to get out of it, to put it off. But every time I put it off, I felt this little twinge in my gut. And at first, it was just registering that if we put it off too long, my mom wouldn't be able to sing as well in the show. I had just turned 40, which means my mom was 71. And I'd already started to notice that her voice wasn't as clear as it had been when we first proposed the project. And her skin was starting to get kind of thin and papery, like I remember my grandmother's skin being. And her walk was a little more hunched. And I started to feel this old phobia I'd always had of my mom's death kind of lurking around me. I was like, what if my mom died and I'd never ended up doing this piece with her? Would I regret it forever? And that fear started to infect me. And there was this urgency, like, now we have to do this. Time is running out. And maybe by making this piece, we could push back against the tyranny of the clock and manufacture more time for the two of us to spend together. And that fear, that urgency started becoming the play's dramaturgy. The whole time I'd been banging my head up against this good idea I'd pitched, time itself had been at work. And the work it was doing on me and on my mom was dramatic. The drama that time was authoring was way more compelling than my own good ideas. I just had to notice it. So maybe that is why I feel like I trust the sound of my own voice a little less these days, because the more life happens to me, the less I feel like listening to myself, and the more I feel like listening to what's happening around me. And that's why I like making theater, I think, because it feels like listening to other voices. It's not my own voice. It's this cacophony of voices, and I don't know who to believe. It's not me. I'm not trying to make a point. There's no thesis. So now that I'm making more, I don't feel like talking as much, which I recognize is ridiculous because I've been talking at you for like 10 minutes now. But I do feel less sure of myself. And who knows, maybe that doubt, that not knowing is somehow making space for something else, something unimaginable to occur. And what I love about this festival, about Under the Radar, is that it welcomes the unknown. So what I wanted to offer all of us this morning as we step into this day, this month, this new year of conversating and connecting and making vital things, is simply some of that useful uncertainty that I find myself sitting in. I can't wait to see what the rest of the day holds. Thanks for having me, you all.
Next, we are thrilled to welcome Martine Dennewald. Martine is the co-artistic and co-executive director at Festival Transamérique in Montreal, who I had the pleasure to meet this past year and is doing incredible things with her organization and beyond.
In this final year of Merope and I's as co-directors of the festival, we've had the chance to really define the most critical seeds that we want to plant. And one of those is that we think through hyper-local logics about international exchange, and that we work from hyper-local logics, talking to the whole world. Martine's incredible work and force in Festival Transamérique is a beacon in this practice, and we are so happy to have you here with us.
Hello. Thank you so much, dear Under the Radar team, dear Mark, dear Merope, dear Kanisa, dear Tommy, dear Sami, for having me. It's a real pleasure to be with you today. And I'm also very glad that Misha got all the laughs, because that means I can be my own serious self today. So, dear colleagues, dear friends, my grandfather was a historian. He was born in 1923, when the internet was not yet a thing, and knowledge lived in books, newspapers, libraries, and inside people's heads. For him, being a historian meant, to some degree, being a living archive, knowing not only the facts, but what connects them, how they can be explained to make sense. It is no surprise then, perhaps, that as a programmer, as a festival maker, I am drawn to artists who examine this sense-making, who reach back in time to retrieve an idea, a story, a song, a reality that has not made it into our conscious, rational, productive, modern present, that was left behind or suppressed or eradicated with purpose. These artists reach back, Sankofa, and what they bring is a challenge to us here and now. In particular, to us white people, to us Europeans and people of European descent. Nora Chipalmire, well known to many of you, reaches back to the 19th century spiritual and political leader Nehanda Charvio Nyakasikana of the Shona people in her native Zimbabwe, exploring myth and history, oppression and resistance with her cast of 20 dancers, singers, musicians. Emilie Monet and Wairanina weave Anishinaabe and Inga stories handed down through generations into a call for the protection of our forests, bringing Turtle Island and Abya-Yala, Amazonia and the Canadian boreal forest into resonance. Amrita Hepi revisits the history of dance from a Bunjalung Ngapui perspective, revealing the political nature of where we choose to place the beginning of a story, a people, a nation. We all know the story of this continent does not start with 3 greedy ships on the horizon, Niña Pinta and Santa Maria, or with a covenant with a god from faraway lands. Although much could be said about how that moment catalyzed a specific kind of violence, and so was a beginning of sorts. Speaking of which, a land acknowledgement is not the worst way to start. We are gathered on Lenape homeland today. And I live in Djurjage, Muniang, Montreal, where the Ganyengehaga are recognized as stewards of the lands and waters. That much we know. But what does it mean to us, caretakers of art spaces, amplifiers of stories, custodians of cultural and symbolic power? If we think of ourselves as teammates in the relay race of arts programming, one generation of curators handing the stick to the next, sweaty, panting, exhausted, what is it that we want to have carried forward? 3 thoughts. 1. Exactly a year ago on this stage, Dorcy Rugamba talked about the absent presence of his parents and siblings who were murdered in the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1984. He spoke to us in English then, but his show, Ewa Rwanda, is written and performed in French. Now, I have been raised in Luxembourg on a diet of, among other languages, so-called standard French. But when I saw Ewa Rwanda, I had been living in Montreal among Montrealers and their Québécois French for 3 years. And suddenly, Dorcy's Rwandan French made sense to me as a non-metropolitan, decentered, reappropriated colonial language. This use of language has always existed. I had just not been paying attention to the non-standardized, the non-dominant, or the mestizaje, if we want to bring this idea closer to the Americas. Language as a place of resistance and a call to listen closely. How do we carry this forward? 2. When I arrived in Montreal in the summer of 2021, the festival I work for, FTA, tested an immersion project for Indigenous youth keen on a career in the performing arts. It was developed by Charles Bender, a Wendat actor and writer who also runs an Indigenous theater company, and Jeanne-Renée Deslorins, who was our education officer at the time. Knowing very little about my new home, I tagged along with these 6 youngsters from far-flung Innu communities, who by the end of their stay gave the project its lasting title, Eka Shakwelem, which is Innu Aimun for Don't Be Shy. And so now every year a new cohort spends a week at the festival, exploring how not to be shy in a colonial society that still today does so much to make them fail. For all the beauty and joy that the world's most renowned artists bring to the festival, Eka Shakwelem is perhaps the most valuable of our activities. Serving the artists and arts workers who need our support most urgently. How do we carry this forward? 3. This year at FTA, Jeanette Kotowicz, a Nehiyon Métis choreographer based in Vancouver, will present a new dance piece called Bolt. Bolt like a sprint, like lightning, like a horse on the run. She is developing not only a show, but an indigenous-led process of working with a cast and crew of diverse origins, different First Nations, white settlers, recent immigrants. Although this means she cannot apply for the federal funding earmarked for Indigenous artists. She insists that we need to learn how to do things together. This reminds me that although access and support are great, sharing power is better. For the past few years, FTA has operated under a shared leadership model where my colleague Jessie Mill and I are co-artistic directors. What other models can we, the arts community, invent or explore? What will they enable inside our arts organizations and around them? Reinventing structures in order to share power. How do we carry this forward? And of course, stubbornly doing things together. Maybe this is a good place to stop and to start. Thank you.
Next up, it is our pleasure to introduce Daniel Alexander Jones. New York City has missed you, Daniel. You just heard it. Daniel is a god of performance making. His body of original work includes plays, performance pieces, concerts, music, theater, events, essays, and improvisations. He has a collection of plays and performance texts, Love Like Light, published by 53rd Street Press. Can everyone in this room please buy a copy and give us the medicine we need, get this text in the world, feed us? When I think about UTR, when I think about Mark, I think about tending genealogies. Woo! Daniel's practice of tending genealogy has been a fabric that has held so many people in this room, so many artists. It continues to inspire and seed and provide nutrients from ancestral thought that we all stand on, artists who didn't end up in the history books that we learned about in school. And Daniel's practice keeps feeding that into the veins of an entire ecosystem. Daniel, thank you for being here. Come back to New York more often, please.
For my fellow artists, and in memory of Shay Youngblood, I've been away a long time, but every goodbye ain't gone. I've been in the desert, came back to this crossroads of art and marketplace, with an offering of fragments and spaces between. Quote, "Making people happy, that's been your business," the interviewer assessed. Josephine Baker said, "No, it hasn't been a business to me. I've always tried to touch the sensibility of each human being." She identified our work as a matter of consciousness. 1996, 30 years ago exact, on a frigid Austin, Texas night at 26, I moved on stage as Josephine Baker, dancing naked on the edge of the moon, a dance with the dead, to weave evidence of love across time for future folk. 1978, on the left, Miss Zeline A. Davis, my fourth grade teacher in the public school where my friends and I were bused. We daily left a vaster world, one where we were whole, and crossed a bridge to a too tight school where we were weighed and sorted and tracked toward pre-imagined outcomes, causing discord among us who quietly longed just to learn. Mrs. Davis, the one black teacher, put stop to all that. Inside her room, she promised justice. "I will treat you all the same," she said day one, and kept to her word, making space, teaching us to stoke our curiosities and stretch our consciousness. Freedom, she instructed, roots and branches from within your mind. Then taught us all the meanings tucked within Lift Every Voice and Sing. In the center, Robbie McCauley with Lori Carlos. Behind her, on Broadway in Shangha's for Colored Girls, embodying their sisterhood, they and the other women stage a rite of recollection to the pulse within themselves, unsanctioned, ungoverned, and full. 15 years later, when they chose to mentor me, I vowed to carry what they gave me. Robbie was steady about staying free, striding the brakes, grabbing hold of contradictions as she stood in space, in the presence of the people, and said the things that must be said, proving we must find our way to embodied courage every time. On the right, I'm next to my father, Arthur Leroy Jones. He and my mom walked us through snow each Christmas Eve to visit every elder in our neighborhood, from afternoon till well past midnight, as under incandescent lights they spun tales of their befores in Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Italy, Ireland, Or from here, indigenous folk and black folk from the South where Dad's side was from, again and again, year after year, till their stories grew as close as glow. I have always had prophetic dreams and nightmares, which to my mentors meant I was just regular in our traditions, but such seeing meant it had to be in service of the work. So spectral terrors and graces are thus coded through my art. As Jomama Jones spoke in Blacklight in 2018, what if I told you we won't all make it through? It's leaning on that nightmare side. Attentions hijacked. Imaginations snared in algorithmic loops. The connective tissue among us percussively wounded. It's a difference between something dying a natural death and being killed. Between the turmoil of creation and brutality from thieves who sow discord to distract while they raze living archives to the ground. War, genocide, brazen greed. I don't need to tell you what stories we are stuck in. Quote, human beings need deepening places, wrote Madeleine L'Engle, wherein consciousness can root and branch, and we find each other's stories just in time. I bow to all of you who use your art to deepen consciousness, who guide us past edges and stay in the heat of real-time transformation to remind us to embody our vast archive of collective soul. I have been in the desert walking with the dead, who whisper yet of epochs changing. The struggle continues. Robbie's book was published last year after her death in 2021, and she left maps to help us navigate what lies ahead. My dad, a lifelong community worker with a book of poetry in the final summer of his life, at the end of his 87 years, he suddenly despaired. What difference had he made, had they made? In hospice, we bore witness as a line of people, stretching in age from 17 to 88, came to say, Art Jones saved my life, pulled me out of trouble and put a book in my hand, showed me to seek the wonder in the people that we meet. And in some, Miss Zaylene A. Davis, very much alive at 87 years old. Just this past November, we spent a glorious morning catching up after decades. What did you love best about teaching, I asked. Oh, when they gave me the difficult kids. She saw right through to their capacity and demanded they stand up for their own freedom. In the end, she smiled, they outdid the whole school every time. I beg you, cross back from canon to archive. Take back our attention. I dare you, in this killing time, ask your neighbor to trust you with a story and make it your business to carry it well. Though your path is uncertain, though it seems you have gone astray through the siren song of memory, the dread of what you cannot see, I say to thee, have heart. Though the people turn within and shut you out, though the cruelty of this time grows overwhelming as one by one the souls you love drift far away from your embrace, I beg of you, have heart. Always beginning again. Nothing that's living can stay for a long time. Through your heart flow energies to feed your wild imaginings. Oh, have heart. Whoa, have heart.
It's entirely impossible to follow up after the incredible Daniel Alexander Jones. I just have a bit of housekeeping before we close up today. If you are an industry attendee who's joining us for the rest of the symposium, you'll notice that on your badges you have a color assigned to you for a breakout room. That's part of the next phase of our day for Newark Provocations. There are volunteers out in the lobby ready to help usher you to your next destination. You'll do so by heading up towards the registration desk where you entered today. Finally, thank you for being here, and I want to close us out with the incredible Fleur de Toloache, who graced us with their presence this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see more of you later this afternoon.
I know.
Yo, could someone give like a loud grito so they know they're just there?
Definitely gonna need this again for the next show. There you go.
Can somebody do a loud grito? Yo, Rio. I want to do like a crazy loud grito so they know that we're like on.
Dale.
Yo, do like the Coco grito.
Literally. For a cumbia?
Come on, they're walking out.
Ready? You want to do what? ¿A grito? No. Okay.
Dicen que el amor sincero puede hacerte muy feliz. Dicen que el amor sincero puede hacerte muy feliz. Dicen que el amor sincero puede hacerte muy feliz. ¡Vale! Dicen que el amor sincero puede hacerte muy feliz. Bonito es el sentimiento que tenía yo para ti. Dicen que el amor sincero puede hacerte muy feliz. Bonito es el sentimiento que tenía yo para ti. Y voy llorando por tus besos y voy sufriendo, no lo niego, anhelando tu cariño y supuesto amor sincero. Y voy llorando por tus besos y voy sufriendo, no lo niego, anhelando tu cariño y supuesto amor sincero. Ay, 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 un amor sincero. Ay, 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 es lo que quiero. Ay, 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 un amor sincero. Ay, 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 es lo que quiero.